what it tastes like on the bottle, right? You know, it might say like sweet cherries or, you know, toasted peanut butter or, you know, black tar.
Hello, and welcome everyone to The Mashup. This is your place for all things bourbon talk. As always, we're your hosts, Michael, Anthony, and Steven. Hello, fellas.
How are you?
What's going on?
Not doing
What's
too bad.
going on?
Well, today, fellas, we're going to be opening up a bottle of Elijah Craig Small Batch.
And I will just say that I am very excited about this because it's been a long week, and I'm really looking forward to just kicking back and having a nice sip and talking about this bourbon here. So Elijah Craig Small Batch is a bourbon that you're going to find on the shelf in a lot of places. It's got a very wide availability. It's distilled by Heaven Hill. And the bottle we're drinking tonight, we just picked up off the shelf last week. It's a 2020 release for all intents and purposes. But this bourbon has actually been, Elijah Craig has been produced since the mid-'80s. And it used to carry a 12-year-old age statement. It does not carry that age statement anymore. It's actually non-age stated, but according to Heaven Hill's press release, when they took the age statement off, they still made sure we're getting a well-aged bourbon here. It's supposedly 8 to 12-year-old composite mixture small batch bourbon. And it's coming in at 47% alcohol, which is 94 proof ABV. The mash bill on this is a high corn mash bill. From Heaven Hill, it's 78% corn, 12% malted barley, and 10% rye. It carries an MSRP of around $25, $26, and it is, again, like I told you guys, it's widely available. It's one that you won't struggle to find in a lot of places, and we're just excited to dive right in here. So,
Yeah, once we figured out we were going to do this one for this week, I was actually pretty excited about it because I see it all the time, but I've never had it. And the only experience I've had with Elijah Craig has been the barrel proof. I don't know. I kind of had mixed reactions to that. So I'm excited to see what the small batch can do.
Yeah, I'm excited to try it just from the simple fact that I've never had it before. Maybe it's because I got into bourbon with, you know, a different bottle that I like. Maybe it was the Weller or the Blantons, or maybe Elijah Craig's brothers, the Henry McKenna. So, and that's really good. So if I like that, then I would think I would like this. For some reason, I always just overlooked it on the shelf, maybe just because it is always there. So you just kind of assume that it's not any good. Or you
just see it so
or
much,
you know that there's or you know that there's something else out there that you like better, like Woodford or Makers, something else in the same price range that's always there. So maybe that's just what it is. It's just that when you see 5 or 6 things that are always there, you always just kind of overlook this one.
yeah, I think so. And the other thing I was going to say is Heaven Hill has so many brands underneath its belt. When you're looking at their product line and a lot of things that they got going on, it's not hard to overlook any one thing or another because they just have so many different bourbons on the shelf. I mean, we don't have to get into the whole brand portfolio here, but you know, they have their own house labels. They got JTS Brown. They got Evan Williams. They got a whole lot of things that they do at Heaven Hill. And Elijah Craig, though, definitely garners a lot of attention.
And that's probably why I'm overlooking it, because I'm staring across the counter here at bottles of Heaven Hill, Bottled in Bond, Evan Williams, Henry McKenna. I'm staring at all of those right now, and I like all of them, so I don't know why I've always just overlooked this one. Maybe it's because I like those, and I think I don't need a fourth one from them, you know. But I don't know. It's interesting. I'm just looking at it now. We tried the barrel proof. It was okay, but it wasn't overwhelmingly great. So I'm excited. Let's give it a shot. Other than the stupid lip at the top of the bottle that makes it really hard to pour, but.
But this one is definitely a better cap. It's solid.
Oh, what a great cap.
Solid wood with a cork.
I mean, if we could show you a cap over a podcast, this thing is how you do it right here. I mean, they should give lessons in how to make caps.
It's a great size.
Yeah.
And speaking of Heaven Hill, the distillery, we have some things coming up soon that we're going to be doing some flights. And one of them we're excited about is going to be a Heaven Hill flight.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so definitely excited about that.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a fun one because when you, again, going back to say it one more time, that product line has so many different, there's so many different brands there that it'll be interesting to taste them next to one another. But when you guys mentioned that bottle and how nice it is, it's interesting to note that if you do come across in some markets the Elijah Craig, you won't see it in the bottle, that the modern bottle, because if you're lucky enough and you're out there hunting Dusties, you might be able to find this in the old bottle, which looked considerably different. And I think it changed around 2016 or 17 when they redesigned this bottle, and it's in the bottle that we're looking at now, which is how would you guys describe the shape of that? I'm not sure how I would describe it.
I'm going to describe it as a pirate bottle.
Okay, that's good. And before it was more of like a squat bottle almost, the way that it looked. And you still see that in some places. I think I actually came across a 1.75 of the old style bottle recently, and I'm kind of kicking myself that I didn't buy it. But it wasn't age stated, so people calm down. It wasn't a 12-year age stated. It was just the old style bottle, but it wasn't age stated.
I feel like this should have, if this was a smaller bottle, it would have medicine in it. You know, it kind of looks like one of those.
Yeah, it does.
You know, one of those old medicine bottles that you'd look at. But I mean, I guess it's medicine for somebody right now. But
during Prohibition, it was definitely
That's
medicine.
Right. There you go.
All right, well, let's check it out. Right?
It's definitely got a nice middle amber color. I would say.
Yeah, I see some amber hues to it. I also would say if you took, and this could be a stretch, but if you took a penny, if you have a penny around and you put it next to it, I think there's a little bit of a copper color overall to it, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're looking at it under different light, but I think that I see the amber and copper color to it. Very nice, though. Very rich looking color.
And it's a very almost creamy, like you say, creamy, rich, just notes right off the bat.
I mean, for $25 or $26, the fact that it's still 8 to 12 years is a really good deal, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you, and you can smell what Steven's mentioning as well, that complexity. And when I say complexity, when you have bourbon that's not aged very well, the first thing when you stick your nose in the glass is you tend to smell alcohol. With this, you stick your nose in, the first thing I smell is almost like I don't want to call it like a wet oak, but like in a good way, like a well-aged oak and almost like a nut smell to it. And I don't know what you guys think, but you can definitely tell this has age to it versus younger bourbons. When you taste them, they definitely have a lot more ethanol.
No, I definitely think that, you mentioned it wasn't age stated, but, it's 8 to 12 years. We'll see how that comes through when we taste it. But on the notes are starting to become all over the place with a well-aged bourbon. I mean, we're getting...
Yeah.
You have your standard, vanilla, caramel. But then it starts rolling into... I'm getting chocolate. I'm getting saltwater taffy, cotton candy. I'm getting some of the sweet notes from the corn.
I'm getting chlorine, but maybe that's because we went swimming earlier tonight. Or maybe that's helping my nostrils to get a better...
They're cleaned out.
They're all cleaned out now after the swim. No, but I do get peanuts, chocolate,
I am
a
picking
bit of
up...
caramel. Maybe I just built myself a Snickers, but it's pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely got the candy and the mixture of the classic bourbon flavors in there. It's delightful nose. I mean, really.
And like you said, $25, mid-20s, and has this much to offer in the nose. It's a lot different than some of the other bottles we tried so far. All right, here we go. Sip one, I guess. Pretty smooth.
It's very smooth.
Finish is still going. It's got a nice finish.
The 94 proof kind of gets to me, I guess. It's just interesting that they chose 94. I have no idea why.
Versus what?
I mean, just seems like if you're that low, most people just typically go with like 90. I don't know, 90, and then you see 100. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but
I mean, I appreciate the extra alcohol in it.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
like,
the higher proof, I appreciate it.
What's interesting about this is you definitely get stuff we were smelling translates to the palate, but it definitely you can tell that it's 94 proof, if that makes sense. It's smooth, but it also does bite you a little bit.
Right.
Oh yeah, it's got more bite than the 90 proof Weller that we tried in a previous episode.
Yeah, and I mean we've all had Blanton's, even though we might review it at some point in time. That's punching at 93, and this definitely you can tell you're drinking this versus drinking something like that. No disrespect to this that we're drinking, because it's definitely not bad at all.
Speaking of proof, that's something that, when we began, we didn't really dive into the super hot, low 100s proof up because it was hot in the beginning, but I'm starting to really enjoy the higher proof bottles. They allow so much more flavor and nose to come through. That's really enjoyable.
Well, what's interesting, and I want to ask both of you guys this, because you both said that you've never had this before. I've had it on occasion, and I had it when it was 12-year age stated, but I'm also sort of collecting the verticals of the barrel proof that's offered 3 times a year, and that's a 12-year age stated, comes out at various proofs, 120. I think the lowest one I have might be 120, and the highest one I have is like 138 or something crazy like that. What do you think about that in comparison to this, the entry level one that's still carrying, we know, an 8 to 12-year-old sort of age to it, but obviously is 94 proof versus the barrel? Because you guys said that to you the barrel was a little bit, all over the place, and so I'm wondering what you guys think about that, because that's an important point, right? For people that are maybe new to the category or don't really know what they want. I just think that it would be interesting to talk a little bit about that.
Well, when we tried the barrel proof, it was just a lot of oak that came through. Is that how you felt, Michael?
Yeah, I would agree. And I still don't love a lot of high proof. They do have a lot of flavor to them, but I just don't love a lot of them. Does it burn or not? That's kind of the way I look at it. And if it still burns, I still don't really love it. And so,
well, when we drink that Russell's single,
oh sure,
that's
yeah.
110, and that's great.
But somewhere between 110 and maybe 125 or so, something
things change.
Something gets hot.
Yeah,
for me at least. I don't know why. I really like this. That's what prior to recording we were talking about how much we like this a lot better than we did the other one. We just need to revisit the other one.
I will tell you guys that for me, this bourbon, when I first moved to Kentucky and I had to take a bourbon somewhere to a party or buy one for somebody that, for example, my buddy's birthday, I always went and grabbed this because it always was around this price, $25, maybe even lower, $20 to $25. And it carried a 12-year age statement. And to me, there was really nothing better on the shelf at the time in that category. And so when they took the age statement away, I did get a little bit, I don't know, the little bourbon tater came out in me a little bit. And I was like, why are you taking the age statement away? It's going to negatively impact it. But I think in some ways that this is just as good as that original product that I came to love, the 12-year-old one.
Yeah, I think it's good. Like I really like it. There's just been no explanation to why I passed it up, I guess, other than it got lost in the $25 bottles, and that's what happened. I don't know whose fault that is. Whether that's my fault for passing it over, or their fault for not making it stand out, or what. But
what about what do you guys think about the statement on the bottle that Elijah Craig is the father of bourbon? I think that Buffalo Trace, E.H. Taylor might have something to say about that, right? They're always calling E.H. Taylor the father of bourbon. So where the heck do you think that came from? Where's the mother of bourbon at, right?
I mean,
are they going to produce something else, or what's going on here?
Mrs. Craig's bottle, right? Does she have a bottle? Because I mean, it's a blend. It's a blend of. Well, I guess the blend of Elijah Craig and Mrs. Craig would be the son of bourbon, right? So that wouldn't be right. But
I'm telling you right now, if Heaven Hill releases something that says son of bourbon, then we're going to have to come after them.
I feel like every company has some kind of line about their distillery or being the father or the first or something, and no one really knows. I mean, Buffalo Trace says they're the longest running distillery, and this one is the oldest one, and that one is the first one, and nobody really knows. And I don't, because they've all changed names 100 times, and then they've gotten shut down, and they've closed, and they've opened back up, and somebody's bought them, and I don't know. Well, is it good or not? That's all I care about. I don't really care a lot about history. So, coming from a history teacher too. So,
could it be that? Do we know what their? This is gonna sound weird. Do we know what their tax ID number is?
Oh, you mean like the DSP?
Yeah.
Well, it's on the bottle. Is it on the bottle right there? I don't even know. not familiar with it. Are they DSP one? I don't think so.
I don't see it.
Yeah, I don't see it either.
I mean, I thought it was. I thought it was one. I thought Steven and I looked this up the other day, but
It was one.
we could be wrong. I thought not Elijah Craig itself, but Heaven Hill.
Heaven Hill is DSP one, but again, in terms of who's produced bourbon when they're producing it, I don't think that's. I think that's contested history, right? As we learned from years past with Michter's and other brands that have tried to really embellish their histories, they've oftentimes ended up, I don't know, having some explaining to do, to say the least. The one thing that's refreshing about this is if you want a bottle of Elijah Craig, you don't have to pay secondary for it. Just go buy it. It's on the shelf. I just think if you're going to entertain somewhere, or if you're just looking for a regular, solid, everyday drinker, when I say every day, I mean every other day or every 3 days in moderation.
Yeah, we're not condoning drinking every day.
Yeah, I would definitely buy this one. I think it's good for that for sure.
Looks good to me. I've been impressed.
Yeah, I'm happy.
Happy with it.
Yeah, happy we tried it.
Happy we tried it. I wouldn't say I'm impressed. I mean,
no. I mean,
but I didn't have.
I mean, it could definitely be a daily drinker.
Every other day.
I mean, yeah, because it's not expensive and it drinks well. So, with that, fellas, would you pass, try, or buy?
I'm going to go first on this one, and this is really difficult for me, but I'm going to say that I would pass. And the only reason I'm going to pass is because Heaven Hill has been doing some voodoo magic on us, I feel like, as of late. And what I mean by voodoo magic is they have so many brands that are bottle and bond that are anywhere from 4 to, 10 years old with McKenna. And then they started pulling all those brands back, and they did it in a very strategic way so that they could, I don't want to say remarket or replace their bourbons because they were all moderately priced. But I feel like when I know that, and I have other things like JTS Brown, which is a 4-year-old bottle and bond, and it's a Heaven Hill product, but it costs $10, $12. I'm going to hold off on the Heaven Hill, as pleasing as it is on the Elijah Craig, just because I feel like there are other things that they produce that I would much rather have at a price point that's much lower. So I will take this to a party. I will give it to a friend. But in terms of having it on my shelf every day, I'm going to pass.
And I would go with try. I think it's one that I'm happy I tried, but for the same reasons I've been talking about, is that there's a lot of other ones in this same price range that I know I like.
What are those?
Well, I would say I like Makers. I like Woodford.
See, I think this is actually a little bit easier drinker than, especially Makers, and I think it's a little bit easier than Woodford.
Well, I think you have a terrible opinion, but that's why we try it. But I mean, but if I were at a restaurant or a bar, I'd say a restaurant, we're sitting down to dinner and I'm looking to get a pour of something that I don't want to spend a whole lot of money on. Buffalo Trace is another one that would be in that same category. I would probably buy this with my dinner because I know it's not going to be more than $7 or $8 as for a pour of it, and I feel like that's about what it's worth. I wouldn't buy a whole bottle of it just because I got too much else at the same price range. That's just me. So I guess a long way of saying that was the long way of saying I will try it.
Well, like I said, comparing it to the Makers or Woodford, I think it drinks better. And I have 2 bottles of Woodford just sitting here. I think I would just buy it. You can get it relatively easy. It's inexpensive, and I've enjoyed the experience, especially for, something that's 8 to 12 years. It's hard to pass up.
Yeah, I mean, and here you go. Like, you got the three of us disagreeing, but just saying different things. And I think it just depends on what you're looking for out of the bourbon. But I mean, here's the thing. Here's the beauty of a product like this. If you're just coming to the category, something like this is just unbelievable. I mean, it really is something that you could buy and be impressed with, and rightfully so. It's a great product. But it's not, to me, where I'm at. I look at it a little bit differently, and I say pass. But then, on the other hand, I'm saying things like, oh, yeah, but I'll take it to a party, or I'll give it to a friend as a gift. So really, am I saying pass? I don't know.
Well, think about, like, what Heaven Hill is doing, or Elijah Craig is doing here, I think about a buddy of mine that I think this was probably one of the first ones that he really tried when he got into bourbon, and he liked it. And so his next step was, okay, I like that. Now I'm going to try to find the barrel proof. Or his next step was, I'm going to try to find the Henry McKenna. So
Yeah.
Heaven Hill like kind of reels you in with a pretty good one at a pretty good price, and then they say, okay, well, if you like that one, why don't you spend $10 more and get something else, right? And so now all of a sudden you've bought 3 of their bottles because you like the one, and
Well, I mean, this could be another topic, but some of those are single barrel.
some of them are, yeah.
I've had some fantastic McKenna 10 years, but my current bottle, let's just say, not fantastic.
Well, it's not hard to find single barrels of these that are barrel picks or store picks. There's lots of people put those out pretty regularly. Some of them go as high as like 12 years. So I would probably buy one of those. Let's just say that. If I saw a
small batch pick or a single pick?
The small batch.
Small batch pick.
Which I think it's it becomes a single barrel, right? I think.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. But
So yeah, here in Lexington,
it's only like $5 more, like that, something like that. I'd do that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no. If you're in Lexington, it's not uncommon to like visit places like Liquor Barn and Total Wine and see a Elijah Craig single barrel pick, and it'll be bottled at 94 proof, but it will definitely be a single barrel. However that many 180 bottles, 200 bottles, and if you look at where Heaven Hill is positioning, and again, I'm not talking about their brand, but if you're looking at Elijah Craig, that's where they're doing a lot of good expansion right now. They have the barrel proof. They got rye offerings. They have the toasted barrel. If you go to the distillery, they have the little grenades, which are Elijah Craig barrel proof selects. So they have a lot of different stuff going on with this particular line. And as the entry level bourbon, I mean, obviously, like Michael said, this is something that if you have it, and Stephen also said that you're going to look at the other line. So yeah, I agree.
Anthony, can you explain what a pick is for those that may not know?
Oh, yeah, for sure. So if people are going to Heaven Hill to do a pick for Elijah Craig, for example, there's a certain number of barrels that are set aside. I'm not sure exactly how Heaven Hill does their barrel program. If people were to visit there to pick Elijah Craig, they might have 3 to 6 barrels set out for them. They would taste from those barrels or taste from sample bottles of those barrels. They're usually coming in at a higher proof than what they're bottled at, but people will taste those. They usually bring a couple buddies along with them, and then they'll select whatever one they think is best. Then Heaven Hill will proof it down to 94, and they will send it out to wherever that pick is made. So obviously it could be a retail store, it could be a small one, a big one. Sometimes it could be an independent group. Like we're a part of Lexington Bourbon Followers, which is a Facebook group, and they actually have an Elijah Craig barrel pick coming in actually pretty soon, which I'm hoping to get my hands on because I'm really interested to try it. But again, that's where you're actually going to the distillery and picking a single barrel of bourbon, and sometimes it's bottled at cask strength, and most of the times it's proofed down to whatever it is. So in this case, it would be proofed down to 94, regardless of whatever proof it was at when they picked it.
So you're putting a lot of faith in somebody you don't know to make a good decision for your, hopefully it's somebody you trust to make a decision for your store or your restaurant, right? That they're going to pick the one that's good, because if you pick something terrible, you pick out a barrel that just you think tastes good, but everybody else thinks tastes awful, you're going to end up stuck with a bunch of bottles, right?
Oh, heck yeah. I mean, you've seen how many people are doing barrel picks here. Like, just for those who don't know, like we're in Lexington, Kentucky, right? We're in the back door. We're right next to all the bourbon being made, where most of it's made in the entire world, right? I mean, I know that there's a lot of craft and a lot of things going on, but most of the brands that people follow are here. And so that also means that we have a ton of people that are doing barrel picks. And sometimes those barrel picks turn out good, and sometimes they don't. I remember being in a liquor barn one time, and they had 4 different Elijah Craig single barrel picks of this particular stuff we're drinking tonight. And it was funny. People were going through the shelf trying to figure out which one they wanted. But, I mean, really, how did they even know, right? They aren't there. They don't know where they were picked from the Rick House and everything else. So, yeah, that really does mean a lot. Who picks it? You're placing a lot of faith in the people who are picking those barrels to know what they're doing. Unfortunately, in today's market, people just buy it because it's a store pick. So,
and they can go for more money on secondary or in trading groups. If there's a bottle with a specific store pick sticker, they're known for picking good barrels.
Yeah, 100%. That happens all the time. And, I mean, I don't know that I've ever seen Elijah Craig ones go for that high, but, I mean, even the stores will upcharge to $35, $40 a bottle for the same stuff that we're drinking now because it's single barrel. And
well, yeah, you got to pay for their expenses to get down to the distillery, right? You're helping cover the cost of what they cost them. But seriously, you can see like on some of them, you mentioned that at Liquor Barn where there's 3 or 4 different ones, and I see it with other brands. Sometimes they try to explain what it tastes like on the bottle, right? You know, it might say like sweet cherries or toasted peanut butter or black tar, whatever it is. Yeah. So
ash.
What if you if I could name this bottle right here, I guess I can't name it Snickers because then Snickers would probably sue us, right? So I don't want to be associated with alcohol, but I would call it it satisfies my hunger because it's got the little bit of saltiness, the peanut, it's got the sweet caramel and the chocolate,
How much do these Anthony? How much do these bourbon picks cost only for a store or for a group?
Are you talking about like the raw cost of the barrel?
When a group goes to make a pick, they have to purchase the entire barrel, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that could be, 160, 240 bottles?
Oh, yeah. The actual barrel itself is well into the thousands, and that's why you will see price points following. I mean, no group that picks a barrel is going to lose money on that barrel if all possible. Just to give you an idea, I mean, I'm not an expert or anything like that, but I don't think that you get a barrel of Elijah Craig for anything less than, $5, $6, $7 grand. I mean, a barrel of well-aged bourbon right now is a very hot commodity. There will be it'll cost you a lot of money. So it doesn't matter if it's coming from Tennessee, Indiana, Kentucky, or somewhere else. If it's well-aged bourbon, it's going to cost you quite a bit of money.
Well, there's some people losing some money on some Knob Creek rye bottles because I go to some places and the same bottle has been sitting there. There's a stack of them that have been sitting there for like 5 years.
And there's dust on them.
So sometimes I think maybe they've oversaturated the market with some of those.
That's definitely probably the one pick I see everywhere. Even when we're in Florida. Yeah, they had a 9-year pick, I think.
Right.
And I mean every liquor store has a pick of Knob Creek.
Well, and I will just say this: if you look at in Kentucky, who has the most bourbon aging, I bet you Heaven Hill has got to be close to number 1, if not, Jim Beam being second. They just got a lot of bourbon aging. So stores are in those barrel programs and they're paying for certain tiers and things like that. Then they might not be paying as much as, say, a local bourbon group that's just trying to get their hands on a barrel to sell to their, friends and family.
Sounds good. Anthony, did you see anything good on the Facebook groups this week that seemed interesting to you? Any new bottles? Anything? Any new trends?
Not really. All I've seen is prices of certain bourbons go through the roof.
That's what I was going to say. Here's what I'm seeing is the prices are going up, and I'm assuming it's because people got their stimulus checks and they're spending the money, right? They see the opportunity to buy something that maybe they never get to buy in their area, and everybody wants them Wellers, right? So they got to go get them.
Yeah, I think it's that, and I think it's a little bit of FOMO, right? So people got this big fear of missing out, and if something is supposed to be $400 last year, but this year it's $600, if they just entered the category, they're not worried about it. They're just going to buy it. So it's actually kind of it sucks for people like us that have followed this a little while and kind of know what's going on. We see these prices going up, and is it going to stop? We've all asked each other, is it ever going to stop? And it doesn't seem like it's stopping. It just seems like it's getting more out of control. Even like the raffles and fireballs and everything else, like some of the valuations I'm seeing on there are just out of control. It's like, hey, I got this, Weller foolproof pick, and I'm going to have $30 a slot, and there's 20 entries. It's like, what?
Yes.
I
Do
know
the
I'm
math on that.
embellishing
That
a
doesn't
little
really
bit,
add up, right?
but doesn't add up. Half the time it doesn't add up, and I look at it and I'm like, man, I would have entered this, but it's kind of crazy.
Well, with that, thanks for listening to this week's edition. Please like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at TheMashupKY. Also, let us know your thoughts on this bottle in the comments section. Until next time, keep it neat.